Hey guys, in today's video, we'll meet Harper Grey, an artist who faced death and came back with a powerful message about October 25th, a moment of grace and redemption for humanity. What he discovered on the other side will touch his heart and transform his outlook on life. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all notifications. Get ready for an intense and revealing journey. My name is Harper Grey. I'm 30 years old and a visual artist in Portland and Oregon. I never imagined I would be here today, sharing this story that completely changed my perspective on life and death. Before the incident I am about to relate, I was known for my abstract paintings which, ironically, always portrayed a certain melancholy. My studio, located in an old industrial warehouse, was my refuge and, at the same time, my prison. I grew up in a middle-class family, with loving parents and a younger sister. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but from an early age I struggled with inner demons that few could understand. Depression began to manifest itself during my teenage years, but at that time, no one really understood the severity of what I was going through. They called it a phase. They said it was just youthful rebellion. Years passed, and while my artistic career took off, my mental health deteriorated. I tried different treatments, conventional therapy, medications, alternative techniques. Nothing seemed to completely work. The emptiness persisted, growing like a shadow that fed on my essence. Chemical dependency came into my life as a false solution. First, it was just some substances to stimulate creativity. Soon, it turned into a daily battle for sobriety. I managed to free myself from the addiction after 3 years of intense struggle, but the emotional darkness remained, perhaps even stronger than before. It was in this context that I experienced something that defies any rational explanation, something that completely changed my understanding of life, death, and the purpose of our existence. What I'm going to share in the next few pages may seem fantastic, even unbelievable to some. But I can guarantee that every word is true. Every sensation is still vivid in my memory as if it happened yesterday. It was an ordinary Tuesday in October. The sky was cloudy, as it usually is in Portland at that time of year. I woke up earlier than usual, around 5 in the morning, with that familiar feeling of heaviness in my chest. The difference is that on that particular day, something was different. The emotional pain I had been carrying for years had reached an unsustainable point. I remember mechanically preparing my breakfast, a cup of black coffee and a piece of toast that I could barely swallow. I sat in front of my studio window, watching the city begin to awaken. People hurried along the street, each one immersed in their own story, completely oblivious to the turmoil that was forming inside my apartment. I spent hours staring at a blank screen, unable to create. The colors that used to bring me some comfort seemed to have lost all meaning. I tried calling my therapist, but it went to voicemail. I thought about calling my sister, but I didn't want to be another burden in her life. Loneliness, which was already my constant companion, seemed to have transformed into something physical, palpable, that compressed my chest and made it difficult for me to breathe. It was then that I made a decision. It wasn't something impulsive, as many might think. It was a cold, calculated conclusion, the result of years of accumulated suffering. I methodically organized my studio, separated important documents, wrote some goodbye letters. Every movement was precise, as if I were performing a choreography that had been rehearsed for a long time. The peace I felt at that moment was deceptive. It was as if I had finally found a solution to all that suffering. Little did I know that I was about to embark on the most extraordinary and transformative experience of my life. The sun was already setting when I finally entered the bathroom. I remember the pale reflection in the mirror, the empty eyes that I barely recognized as mine. On the sink, there was a blade that I had separated earlier. It was surreal how something so small could represent such a definitive decision. My hands shook slightly as I held the blade. The cold metal contrasted with the heat of my skin. I took a deep breath, trying to find courage or cowardice. I no longer knew how to distinguish. The silence in the apartment was deafening, broken only by the distant ticking of the kitchen clock. When the blade touched my left wrist, something inexplicable happened. It was as if time had stopped for a split second. I saw a drop of blood form, bright and red against my pale skin, but before he could finish what he had started, an explosion of light filled the entire room. Suddenly, it was like I was watching a scene in third person. I saw my body lying on the bathroom floor, the blade still in my hand. But I, or rather, my consciousness, was floating close to the ceiling. There was no pain. There was no fear, just a strange feeling of detachment and lightness. It was as if all earthly concerns had lost their meaning. The problems that had seemed so immense moments before now seemed insignificant. I tried to scream, but I had no voice. I tried to touch my body, but my hands, if I could still call them that, passed through everything as if they were made of air. It was at that moment that I realized I was experiencing something beyond human understanding, something that no book, no scientific theory could completely explain. And that was just the beginning. The sensation of floating was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wasn't like swimming or flying. It was as if gravity itself had lost its meaning. The environment around me began to lose its physical form. The bathroom walls dissolved into a silver mist, and I soon found myself suspended in an indefinable space. This limbo was disconcerting. There was no up or down, right or left. The notions of time and space seemed to have completely lost their meaning. Colors that don't exist in our material world danced around me, creating patterns impossible to describe with earthly words. It was then that I noticed a sound. It started as a low, barely noticeable hum, but gradually grew louder. It was as if the entire universe was vibrating at a specific frequency. And then I saw it, a colossal vortex forming before me, like a hurricane of pure light. The force of attraction was irresistible. I was sucked into it with a speed that seemed to surpass that of light. As I traveled through this supernatural tunnel, fragments of memories flashed past me. Childhood moments, laughter shared with friends, tears shed on lonely nights. The tunnel itself seemed to be alive. Its walls pulsed with their own energy, emitting a light that did not dazzle, but warmed my soul. Occasionally I would glimpse other presences, shadows or lights that seemed to travel the same path but were beyond my reach. As I progressed through the tunnel, a deep peace began to envelop me. All the despair that led me to that fatal moment in the bathroom seemed to have been left behind. It was as if every kilometer covered on that supernatural journey was purifying me, preparing me for something greater. The journey through the tunnel ended as abruptly as it began. Suddenly I found myself in an environment that defies earthly description. It was as if I had emerged into a dimension made entirely of light and love. The air, if I can call it that, vibrated with an energy that made every particle of my being resonate in harmony. It was there that I saw them for the first time. 5 beings of light, so radiant that it would be impossible to look directly at them with physical eyes. But in that state, I could behold them in all their glory. They had no defined human shape. They were more like fields of pure energy that pulsed with colors that do not exist in our visible spectrum. These beings, which I can only describe as angels, did not speak with words, but communicated directly with my consciousness. The love that emanated from them was something so pure and intense that it made me realize that I had never really understood the meaning of that word before. It was an unconditional, universal love that transcended any human experience. The atmosphere around these beings was equally extraordinary. Landscapes formed and dissolved like waves in the ocean, creating scenes of indescribable beauty. Colors danced in the air. Music emanated from everything. Not sounds as we know them, but vibrations that directly touched the soul. It was at that moment that I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. It was as if I had finally arrived home after a long journey. All the doubts, fears, and anxieties I carried seemed insignificant in the face of this greater reality. For the first time, I understood that I was part of something much bigger than my individual existence. The beings of light enveloped me in their presence, and I felt as if they were healing me, restoring parts of me that I didn't even know were broken. It was a feeling of completeness that I had never experienced in my earthly life. In the midst of this transcendental experience, something unexpected happens. The beings of light gently guide me to what appears to be a dimensional window, through which I can observe the world I left behind. It's like watching a 360-degree movie, where every detail is perfectly clear. Through this dimensional opening, I see my ex-spouse in our old apartment. The scene takes me by surprise. She is kneeling next to the bed, her hands clasped in fervent prayer. Tears stream down his face as he whispers my name over and over. Even after our turbulent separation, even with all the resentment between us, she is praying for me. The intensity of their prayers is palpable. I can feel each word reverberating across the dimensions that separate us. It's disconcerting to realize that while I was seeking an end to my pain, someone still cared deeply about my existence. The love that emanates from your prayers, although different from the heavenly love I experienced moments before, has its own strength and beauty. This vision generates deep emotional confusion in me. On the one hand, I feel the peace and unconditional love of the spiritual plane where I am. On the other hand, human emotions, complex and imperfect, still affect me. The resentment I carried for so long now feels like an unnecessary weight. The beings of light that accompany me allow me to observe this scene in silence. It's as if they wanted me to understand something fundamental about human love, with all its contradictions and imperfections. Through this experience, I begin to understand that even the most difficult relationships can contain seeds of true love. The scene gradually fades, but its message remains engraved in my consciousness. There is a profound lesson here about forgiveness, understanding, and the complex nature of human love. Suddenly, the atmosphere around me changes drastically. The comforting light of angelic beings disappears, and I find myself plunged into a darkness that seems to have a life of its own. It's not just the absence of light, it's a darkness that swallows, that suffocates, that paralyzes. The environment now is completely different from anything I have experienced so far. If before I was immersed in infinite love and peace, I now find myself in a state of absolute desolation. It's as if every sad moment in my life has been amplified 1,000 times and concentrated into a single eternal moment. Loneliness here is something tangible. I can feel it weighing down on my conscience like a blanket of lead. There is no direction, there is no horizon, there is no hope. Every negative thought I've ever had seems to take shape and voice, echoing around me in a tortured chorus of self-criticism and regret. I try to move, but it's like swimming in molasses. The air itself, if I can call what surrounds me that, seems thick with despair. Emotions that I thought I knew well, sadness, fear, anguish, take on an unbearable intensity. It's as if every fiber of my being is being saturated with pure distress. Time completely loses its meaning in this place. I can't tell if seconds or centuries have passed. Eternity seems to be my only companion in this emotional abyss. Painful memories arise unbidden. Every cruel word I've ever spoken, every act of kindness I've ignored, every opportunity for love I've wasted. The scariest thing is the feeling that this state is permanent, that there is no possible way out of this emotional hell. It's as if the entire weight of the universe is focused on crushing my soul, reminding me of every mistake, every failure, every moment of weakness I've ever experienced. In the midst of this suffocating darkness, I feel my consciousness fragmenting. There is no longer above or below, only an infinite oppression that threatens to consume me completely. It is in this moment of absolute despair that something inside me awakens, a distant memory, perhaps, or a primal survival instinct. Without knowing exactly why, I find myself crying out to Jesus. The words appear spontaneously, as if emerging from the depths of my soul. It is not a formal or structured prayer, but a desperate cry for help that echoes through the darkness. Jesus, help me. Please help me. I repeat incessantly, my consciousness focused entirely on this plea for salvation. As I cry out, I notice a subtle change in the environment around me. It's almost imperceptible at first, like the first ray of sunshine after a long, stormy night. a different vibration begins to penetrate the density of darkness. It's as if every time I pronounce the name of Jesus, a small fissure opens in the wall of despair that surrounds me. The echo of my cry seems to gain strength of its own, reverberating through the spiritual dimensions. The feeling of complete abandonment begins to give way to something new, not yet hope, but perhaps the possibility of it. It is as if each supplication was a small seed of light planted in the darkness. Gradually, I feel a heat starting to form around me. It is not a physical warmth, but a feeling of comfort that penetrates every aspect of my being. The overwhelming oppression that seconds, or was it centuries, before it threatened to destroy me, it begins to dissipate. And then, it happens. A light appears before me. It is not glare or aggressive, but soft and welcoming. It is as if love itself has taken on luminous form, bringing with it a promise of redemption. The light that appears before me begins to take shape. It is Jesus, but not as traditional artistic representations portray him. His presence is simultaneously majestic and welcoming, powerful and gentle. His gaze conveys a love so deep that I feel as if I am being known and understood completely for the first time. He doesn't walk towards me. It's as if space itself bends, bringing him closer instantly. His hands reach out towards me, and when he touches me, I feel every fragment of my being reconstituted. The darkness that consumed me moments before dissipates like mist in the morning sun. In your presence, I experience a sense of total forgiveness, not just for others, but mainly for myself. Every mistake, every moment of despair that led me to that bathroom with a blade in my hand, is wrapped in a greater understanding, in a love that transcends any judgment. It is at this moment that he reveals something extraordinary. His voice is not a sound in the conventional sense. It is more like a truth that materializes directly in my consciousness. October 25th will be a day of grace and reward for those who plant the seed of love and brotherhood. On that day, the divine flow of prosperity will be in high vibration, benefiting those who are connected to divine energy. This revelation passes through me like a wave of light. I understand that it is not just a message for me, but a divine promise for all those who choose the path of love. Each word resonates with a profound truth that transcends time and space. In your presence, I receive a clear vision that there is a greater purpose to my existence. I'm not here by chance. Every person I meet, every experience I have, is part of a greater plan of love and evolution. And now, I carry with me this special message about October 25th, knowledge that I know I need to share with the world. I feel a gentle tug, as if an invisible thread is bringing me back. The presence of Jesus begins to dissolve, but his love and his message about October 25th remain ingrained in every particle of my being. It's time to return, and this time, the journey back is gentle, almost maternal in nature. I cross the dimensions again, but now with a clarity that I didn't have before. The words about the divine flow of prosperity and the special energy of that particular day echo in my consciousness, like a sacred mantra that I cannot forget. Each layer I transpose brings with it a deeper understanding of this divine revelation. When I open my eyes, I'm back in the bathroom. The cut on my wrist is superficial, a mark that will serve not as a reminder of despair, but as a testimony to this transformative revelation. My first few breaths are deep and conscious, as if I'm learning to breathe again. Each inspiration carries with it the responsibility of the message I received. I stand up slowly, my legs still shaking. The world around me looks different now. Colors are more vivid, sounds are clearer. The revelation about October 25th pulses through my mind with crystal clarity. I understand that I have been chosen as a messenger of this spiritual truth. I feel an urgency to share this experience, not just my journey through dimensions, but mainly the message about the power of this special day. The divine energy I experienced wasn't just meant for me. It exists for everyone who is open to receiving it, especially on this sacred date. I look out the bathroom window and see the sun rising. It's a new day in every possible way. My mission is now clear, I must be a channel for this divine message, preparing people to receive the blessings promised for October 25th. Life gained a new purpose, and with it, a sacred responsibility. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.